Song is actually kind of good. I'll be honest.
I know. Always gets me. Like I've heard it like hundreds and hundreds of times. But it always like brings a little jig in me.
It really does. It's just kind of it's just really easy to kind of move to. I'll be honest.
Yeah, me and Carl have talked about making like a personalized one, so it's not like yeah.
Let me know if you want some help making an intro. I'd made the one for my channel my own. So
oh yeah,
some people like it. Not everybody comments that they hate it on my channel. Guys,
I think it's good. Yeah, we've said it quite a lot, but when it'll actually happen, I'm not too sure. But evening, everyone. You haven't seen us here for a couple of weeks. Mainly my doing. I've been away at festivals and stuff. So
partying.
Yeah. So that is the reason why.
Can we nickname you Party Boy Sam?
What?
Party Boy Sam?
Festival Sam? He goes a little bit off the rails sometimes. So, yeah. So, I have had an awful lot of wrestling to watch since I'm back, and I have a total of, I think 10 or 11 pages of notes. So, yeah.
Okay.
Could be here for quite a while. This is the only thing that happens when we have a little bit of a 2-week break is that wrestling still happens. So yeah. So both of my guests, one by one, how are we both doing?
Doing pretty good today. Doing pretty good.
Yep, same old, as they say. I'm doing good.
So obviously, Devon's about as regular as me and Kyle on this channel, so you know him well.
I try to be as regular as possible.
But if you didn't catch our Clash in the Castle watch along, Shane will be a new face to you. It's good to have you on. Always good to extend the little family that we have. Very dysfunctional, but that's the way. The best way for it to be. So I have a little bit of a confession because I was at the Rampage at the festival at the weekend of the Money in the Bank. I didn't watch Money in the Bank. I have read about it intensively. And I've also
you weren't reading like the Dave Metzer review of it or nothing, are you?
No, the Bleacher Report. It basically says
Bleacher Report is doing wrestling now.
Oh, Bleacher Report for wrestling is amazing.
Oh my gosh! I follow them for like basketball, American football, but
they're insane. They're literally like my biggest lifesaver because every single pay-per-view, every single weekly show. They have like a rundown of the match cards. They explain everything that's gone on. They give you grades for everything. It's basically like my Bible for this channel.
Hey, Bleacher Report, reach out to us. We'll help you guys out.
Yeah, I literally, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be doing what I do because I'd never be able to remember all the stuff that goes on.
Hey, real honest reporting going on here, Bleacher Report. We will review every match and we will make sure it is as accurate as possible. No going on sides. We're going to review all matches, all wrestling.
Another confession, that means another confession is that basically means that some of my notes are directly copied from Bleacher Report.
Well, all my opinions will be directly off the top of the dome, guys. I watch these pay-per-views. I have them locked in here. This is a sealed vault right here.
Yeah. So
my memory
my memory isn't the best of times. So yeah, it's basically like my lifesaver. But this is why I got you both here, because I thought if I haven't watched something, the chances these two have are quite high because I know Devon was on a live stream. So I go based off what I've read about it, and Devon goes off that he watched it. So kicking that show off was the Money in the Bank ladder match with Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre, Carmella Hayes, Chad Gable, Andrade and LA Knight. I've spelled LA Knight as in if you go into bed at night, not with a K.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a knight, like a warrior.
So I'll be so yeah, that's the first mistake of today. So I have, in terms of how the match was, Drew was the first to use the ladder as a weapon. As in the standard Money in the Bank matches, there were some high flying spots that were quite risky. But the strong wrestlers, like always, kind of provided that base. The match did a great job of everyone looking impressive. Andrade and Carmelo had the most "oh my god, this is awesome" moments. Everyone had a hand on.
I think I remember.
Everyone had a hand on the briefcase at one point, and it looked like Jey Uso was going to win, but then Drew threw the ladder at him and climbed up and got the case. That is my little. A lot of it again is copied because I didn't see it, but Devin, you saw it, so
yes.
How was it?
I'll start off by saying this, guys. We don't need a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. This is a great match type. This should have been. They need to bring it back to just being the first match on night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. You could do the women's or men's on the opening night for night 1 and the opposite on the opening night of night 2. That is what these events are made for. It makes more sense, especially when you're doing things like they're going to do later on in the episode, which we'll talk about later. But outside of that, it was a decent match. I remember seeing just a couple of botch moments where they're trying to set up ladders. I remember there was one point where they were trying to set up a ladder. They put it up, like they get the ladder and they sit it between the ladder and the rope. So it's like a table, so then they can slam each other on. I remember at one point them grabbing a ladder that was a little too short, so they had to grab another ladder. It was a little ridiculous in the moment. It was, kind of hilarious, but those were that's the type of stuff that was going on. They still made an entertaining match, but again, it just felt like you open it up with this, you would think this whole night would be filled with ladder matches, or every match would be about the Money in the Bank somehow, or related to it, maybe have people. I don't know what you're trying to do, but it felt like you guys did a whole pay-per-view for the most minimal of payoffs, which is something that we always used to see as an opener for a bigger pay-per-view. And I don't want to go rant too much, but this goes back to the same feelings I have about the, Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, the TLC pay-per-views, Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. You guys are naming these pay-per-views and making these pay-per-views based off of one match type, which you could just have No Way Out as the pay-per-view again and just have Elimination Chamber matches in it. It would make more sense. Just have another Bad Blood, bring that back, and just do Hell in a Cell matches if you want to. And it doesn't have to all be about that. You can also add a TLC match in that pay-per-view, and it doesn't have to be now we're watching WWE TLC on pay-per-view. Every match isn't even going to be a TLC match, so what's the point? So yeah, but that's my rant.
No, I think you're right. I always spoke about this on the channel before, in that having every single year knowing that you've got to put a men's and women's TLC match, a men's and women's Elimination Chamber match, a men's and women's Money in the Bank match. For that, I think we're getting worse matches of those types, because they know they're having to put on those two for 3 or 4 different pay-per-views a year. And actually, I've just brought down a DVD because that reminded me, as you were saying. So this is WrestleMania 24, and they had a bank ladder match on that one.
Wait, is that the one where they were in Detroit?
WrestleMania comes to you from Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida.
Okay, I'm thinking of 23.
Yeah, so that really as well. But 24 was Chris Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, John Morrison, Carlito, CM Punk MVP, Kennedy, and I think CM Punk won it.
CM Punk, I think, was the It might have been his second one, or it might have been his first one. It was one of the two that he won, because I think he won one, and I think he won one the year after. But to add to what you, to add to what you were saying, it would also kind of create what they're trying to do. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to have this whole calendar year. Well, if they have the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, then literally the end point to that would be the following year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Rather than do it, we'll do it midway through the year, and then they're saying, it's a year. So basically, then it's like, and it always cashes in before WrestleMania anyway, so it actually makes sense. And I don't understand why it hasn't been changed yet, because I swear that I saw something where Triple H actually turned around and said he hated gimmick pay-per-views, which is why he got rid of Hell in a Cell. But yet he's still keeping Elimination Chamber. He's still keeping Money in the Bank. So he must not hate all of them. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, maybe they just had contracts to finish out for those, but like, doesn't it also kind of diminish, like, at least for like the Elimination Chamber, don't it kind of diminish Elimination Chamber, knowing that like this match used to mean like it was meant for like, you got people who really want the title, you really trying to figure out who's the best or whatever it is, like you're putting 6 animals in a cage together, but now it's like, oh well, now we're just doing this every year, it's just like a normal match type. The being in this chamber don't mean you have bad blood against each other or anything, or like anybody really wants to wreck each other. Like this is just random people versus like, I don't know, it felt like the stories were bigger, and maybe I'm just like having nostalgia, but it just feels like the stories were bigger in the first ones.
They definitely were, because
definitely
you were excited, like before you were excited because you didn't see an Elimination Chamber very often. So that was really niche and really exciting. But now you're getting Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank. I hate to keep repeating myself, but now you're getting those all the time. Those stipulations are no longer exciting because you know you're going to get 2 or 3 of them every year. Whereas before you'd maybe get one in the whole year at a random pay-per-view that you never expected for it to happen at. So
and Shane, you're right about the whole like end point of it being WrestleMania. It makes so much more sense for the 1 year deadline to end at WrestleMania and start at WrestleMania.
It makes it more exciting as well. Like if you've won that Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, you've then got that whole year between now and the next WrestleMania to cash in. Like it makes more sense. Because winning the Money in the Bank should be like something amazing. But because we've got a pay-per-view and because they've gone daft with this year, especially. I know it's for the greater good of the story, but to give away your Money in the Bank briefcase on the same night that that person's won it, that to me is just completely ludicrous. It's for the bigger picture, I get that, but you're just making it look really, really shit. Basically, you're making it look really, really shit and giving it no meaning or purpose anymore by giving it away on the same night. I even go back to, I'm trying to think which Mania it was, when was it Seth came in and cashed it in one of the main events, and that was way back. I was still in school then, but that was when it was exciting. Stuff like that's when it's exciting, but we never get it at an exciting moment where we never expect it. Now it's always, oh, here we go, going to cash in here. So it's always like
I would say the one exception would actually have been last year's WrestleMania. I didn't expect Drew or Damian to cash in at that moment. But if that was still, you could have had that match and then had a Money in the Bank match after that to get the next year for this year's winner, like and get that stuff done. Now that still would have been cool to see. Okay, last year's guy literally waited to right before the match. Like it was kind of, it would have been exciting to see, because you get like, okay, would he do it at SummerSlam? Will he do it at Survivor Series? Will he do it at the Rumble? All the pay-per-views in between, and then like he waits to this moment here. Like that's insane, or maybe that would be a little too predictable. I don't know. Maybe you have the move the schedule around for the matches so it makes a little bit more sense. But I feel like you could still do it, So yeah.
I think I think that brings a bigger picture as well. In that, the kind of Money in the Bank pay-per-view this year was a little bit disappointing. The Elimination Chamber one that was in Australia was a little bit disappointing to me as well. So so that kind of shows what we're talking about, in the fact that both of them are being made worse by being these single pay-per-views. So hopefully they do come away from that, and Triple H does listen to this show.
Hopefully, Triple H, Paul, I know you're watching. Come on, Stephanie, tell Paul to watch this, okay? I know Stephanie watches us for sure. Yeah, she's cool like that. She's all into the new stuff.
Fucked up.
1 second, guys.
That might be one of the funniest things to interrupt with ever, right there.
That's often what I get told when I start talking about wrestling to people that don't get it. So swiftly moving on.
Yeah,
somebody didn't want us to be where we are. So hey ho. So Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn was the IC title match. Again, I did see bits of this, and I thought it was a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be a Braun Breaker dominates for 90% of the match, and then Sami Zayn's just going to hit one move and do the old John Cena type thing where he'd get battered all match and then just turn around, do one move, and somehow win. But it wasn't the case. I think both of them looked really good. I think it made Braun Breaker look indestructible, like he normally does. I think they're doing really well at making him genuinely a kind of a scary individual. So obviously, Sami Zayn was from Canada, so he got a really good welcome. Braun started off by looking dominant. Sami slapped him though, which I thought was really cool, to show him that like he wasn't intimidated by him. Sami did very well at selling like every single move. And then Braun also didn't look like a one-trick pony. He didn't kind of look like somebody that's picking up and throwing people around for the throwing around sake. Like he showed that he was quite versatile in what he could do. Sami hit a kick on him and then pinned Braun to retain. Yeah, I kind of guess, was it better than you expected?
I think it was better than I expected, but at the same time, I wasn't a fan of the match itself happening right now, because I thought, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe if you're going to give Breaker the IC title, this match works for me. Because it's just like the way you're building them up. I don't think you should have him lose against Sami Zayn right now. And if you're not going to have Sami Zayn lose this match, like I would rather him, because that was like a really good back and forth match. I know you said he felt like he was like unstoppable, but for me, it felt more like Sami Zayn. It felt more like Sami Zayn is more like the I can't be stopped type of guy. You know, you could put the biggest, strongest, fastest guys in front of him, and even though he doesn't look the part, he can keep up with the best of them. And it was more like a thing of like Sami Zayn showing what he can do versus like Braun Breaker like really like breaking out and showing like my time is now type of thing. So if he would have won, then that could have been like the Brock Lesnar moment of like when Brock comes in and he's like dominates and still gets a title and stuff like that. But without that, I just felt like maybe it's not his time to be in that match. You want to put him in that match and then have him go over. That way he could like come out looking like, you know, especially when he's wearing like the outfit he was wearing. I don't know if you noticed, but it was like a reminiscent of like the Steiner Brothers outfits from back in the day. So it was like a dope thing. If they would have had that match against maybe like what is that guy who does the chops? I can't think of his name right now. It's like the European guy, Gunther.
Yeah.
I feel like that match between him and Gunther, and then Gunther winning, for me personally, would have came off a little bit better than him and Sami Zayn and then Sami winning.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you say, it's a little bit of a weird booking because they're trying to make Braun Breaker look like this guy that can't be stopped,
and
making him look like he's sprinting around the ring and just tearing through people.
Yeah.
But then actually, in doing that, in putting him in this title match, they've made him look a little bit less like that.
Yeah.
Because Sami Zayn isn't the biggest of people.
Mm-mm.
So
and he's not the most athletic. He doesn't have the best build. Yeah. It's like it feels for me like it's more of a putting over Sami Zayn and making him feel like I went through Gunther, I went through, Breaker. Like I can go through these top guys that, people see them and they say, hey, they should be competing for champion world titles. So now for me, it feels like, well, instead of it elevating, Breaker, it's more elevating Sami Zayn into being like, well, should we put him in those title shots? Like, I mean, Jey Uso's getting title shots. Why can't Gunther or Sami Zayn? So
I think this week on Raw, Sammy fought Ilya Dragunov for the title. I feel that was probably wasted on Raw and would have looked better on Money in the Bank, and then have Breaker still look like indestructible in kind of this.
All right, so here's my thoughts on that. All you needed to do was switch the matches up. You would have Gunther inside, or not the Gunther. I'm thinking so have Breaker in the Money in the Bank match, and then just have Gunther, or have, instead of him in there, you put what's the Kurt Angle looking guy versus have Chad Gable inside of that match with Sami Zayn for the title. Have them have a really good competitive match, and you can even have the 6 come out if you want to. But then instead of you also have to replace Drew McIntyre, because honestly, I think having Drew McIntyre win this opening Money in the Bank kind of ruined the match a little bit later down the road. So I feel like you could have just made that a triple threat match and just added any other person into the Money in the Bank and have Braun Breaker win. Braun Breaker still comes out looking like he's on fire against now 5 people in the Money in the Bank. He could be indestructible. He could have his bumps. He could get thrown into stuff and come back and like, oh wow, he can take damage and deal it. Like he's still fast and agile and does all the things. And now you see him against like a variety of different match or wrestling, so that would have been a great moment for him to win. And then that could have set up for later or whatever. Then you have Sami Zayn have a very competitive match against somebody else and still come out and win. It would have felt the same. Chad Gable is still in that same type of category because he may not be like the biggest or the fastest, but he is clearly big and strong and is a clear, like, if I don't have Kurt Angle, that's like a great Kurt Angle substitute, if you will. So when you have a wrestler of that category, like, yeah, he can compete with some of the best, I'm sure. Have him and Sami Zayn go the full mile with it. And then you just have the triple threat match at the end of the night, and it goes over a lot better for me.
Yeah. We I sometimes do think we can actually book things better than what the WWE do, but
bro.
Welcome to the stream.
Hire us, Steph.
Welcome to the stream. Durant sucks.
I'll say this one because I know you can't, Sam. My nigga Gay Oos, he's on fire. Why is he Gay Oos? It's Jay. Yeah. Come on, man.
I was just about to say I can't put that comment up, but welcome. And I'm guessing he means a basketball player because I don't think I know another Durant.
I'm sure that's Kevin Durant sucks.
Which makes me quite happy because when my basketball team are really good, he used to play for a team that I just ended up watching them against every time. And I can't say he's not a good player because he really is, but he's the most frustrating player to have on the opposition team just because he was so good. But he's also a little bit underhand in his tactics.
I'm about to say he was a lot younger in the time, if I remember correctly, of your basketball team.
Yeah.
Then when they were going against each other in the playoffs, Durant was a lot younger, a lot harder to stop. That age is starting to, it's not like fully caught up to him, but there's a lot of younger players in the league that they can do some things against him now.
Yeah,
plus y'all got the future GOAT now. Come on.
Oh yeah, we've got 12 other players around it though, haven't we? Although we've made a couple of good signings.
Hey, y'all got one. Y'all got the best. Y'all got a great point guard now. I think it's going to be a great season to be. Can I say the team?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be a great time to be a Spurs fan right now.
The just the basketball team, not the football team. The basketball team. I'll just put that out there. Because there's a nice little French connection there now. They're gonna fly. So Lee's also in the chat. Hey yo,
what's going on, Lee?
How you doing, Lee? So yeah, we had that match. We also had the Damian Priest and Seth World Championship match, which is kind of a squash match in turn, just because of the ending, I think. The match itself was okay, but they were both kind of aware that McIntyre had just won the briefcase, so they were kind of looking over the shoulder the whole time.
That's what ruined it for me. Like, you guys had them like pretty much setting up for McIntyre to come in there, and then he actually did. So it's like, all right, he just won it earlier today, so it's like, doesn't that kind of blow it out a little bit for you? Like, you had a whole pay-per-view named after it. The guy wins it, goes after it again that night, and it doesn't even pay off. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I will. Obviously, we do speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there was something that was very ugly in this match. So Rollins Seth hit a Falcon Arrow. The ref counted a 2, but it was clearly a 3. The crowd got really involved and began to boo very, very rapidly. And then Triple H is stood in the back going, "Oh my God, we've messed this up. We've messed this up. Drew, just go out now. Just go out now, Drew. Go on.
Seeing that live was insane. Like,
just the mistake we just made. Just go and cash in. Go and cash in.
I wanted to blame like Damian for not kicking out in time, but also, like, as a ref, why did you fast count that? Like, why not slow count it at that point? Because let's be honest here, all refs have the ability to figure out if they want to do the fast or the slow count. We've seen it happen both ways in the same match before. So, like, what possessed him to do the fastest count he could at that moment?
It was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. When I was watching it, I was just I don't know. It was like, I don't know if there was some kind of a cue that they were expecting. I don't know if that was when they were expecting Drew's music to hit or something. I've heard. Yeah, because it was just like, literally the ref was just like, and then it was just like, well, I can't tap. And Damian's just like laying there like, what am I meant to do?
I was like, is there a foot on the ring or ropes or something? Like, what the, like,
the fan jumped the barricade. What's going on? Why is it just stop?
I think the ref was expecting his legs, like somebody to pull his leg out from under him. Like, he expected somebody to pull him out the ring before he hit the 3 count or something. It must have been, because I don't know, even the ref's reaction to it seemed like, wait, somebody was supposed to stop me right there. Like,
yeah, it was. Yeah, you do wonder somehow they get paid these big wages, because obviously the referee will know full well what's supposed to happen with the match. So when that is going to happen, you would just in case, you would do the slowest possible count, because you can always speed up your count. Like, you can't slow down a fast count. Like, when you're doing a fast count, you've got to do the fast count. When you do a slow count, you can always speed it up, and that always looks better than doing a fast count then going, oh my god, I can't count 3 here. What do I do here? I'm just gonna kind of stop for a minute. And then, like,
do you guys remember when like refs used to like kind of look for a second to make sure that the wrestler's shoulders were actually touching the ring? Like, why not try that move? Like, just for a quick second, just look, give yourself another second or two, and then start the count or something, you know? I don't know.
You got to think now, this is 2 pay-per-views now where botches have happened around pinfall.
When the ref went flying, that one was actually pretty funny, though.
I was talking Gunther Randy Orton.
When we had one at Clash, didn't we? That was exactly the same. Because I remember like not really watching the match, and then just one of you going, "Well, that was clearly a 3." Watched it back the next day, and it was so obvious. Like, I think we counted. I'm sure we counted to like 10. I'm sure someone counted to 10 when it should have been like a 3, but it was 10 before we got there. So,
when the ref went flying,
for some reason, Damian Priest has the worst refs in his matches. Like, it's always a Damian Priest match that the ref goes wild. Like,
it's like when he was flying, I was expecting someone to hit a like sound effect, like he just like
hey, maybe Damian Priest just is the new Undertaker. He has like powers against the refs. He can like make them just mess up and like flop whenever he wants to.
Power of levitation.
Okay, how about this? As a technicality, what if we say Damian Priest did get a 3 count? He lost the match, but then McIntyre comes out, uses his title shot, and like for some reason he wanted it to be a 3-way match. So now Damian Priest wins, and he's a 2-time world champ now.
My head's completely gone.
All because of a false count with the ref.
So obviously we kind of know what happens past then. It becomes a triple threat match. CM Punk then shows up and smacks Drew on the head with a steel chair, grabbed the title and hit him with that as well. Punk then went on to commentary to kind of celebrate, and then see Damian Priest hit South of Heaven to pick up the win. But in turn, obviously, we spoke about the bigger picture. So it kind of puts, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because we thought that it would be just a Drew and CM Punk thing, but it's now become a Drew, CM Punk, and a Seth thing all at once. So,
or has it?
At that moment in time, it had. So, so obviously Rollins was protected by not taking the pin. The Punk and Drew feud now involves Seth, as he's pissed off that Punk got involved. So that was at the time of me writing the stuff for the Money in the Bank. Quickly skipping over. Well, I'm going to go to the main event first, I think, because I've got about 3 lines about this because it was bad. It was a glorified Raw or SmackDown match, really. The Bloodline won. And I hope the story starts to pick up a bit on the build up to SummerSlam. Else we're in for a lot of balls.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the new Bloodline. I'm gonna be honest. I like the wrestlers individually. As a group, it don't hit the same. I don't know. No. It doesn't feel as good.
For me, I think.
Go on, Shane.
Go on. You go first.
No, I kind of agree. I don't find it that interesting, to be honest. Like when the Bloodline of old used to come out with Roman and the rest of them and Paul, and that was genuinely exciting. Whereas now when they come out, it was genuinely exciting and scary at the same time. But now it's become not exciting, potentially scary, but just not as exciting anymore. So it's kind of like, well, I do think that's maybe because the storyline's been going on for so long as well.
Yeah.
So it's hard to keep up the level of story writing that they once had. But I do think it's completely different, and I agree it's not as good for me. Shane, how do you feel about
that? So what I was gonna say is, and this is well, I suppose it's a tiny slight on Solo, but I see what they're trying to do. I really do, but I have a theory. What if instead of Solo being the one that was actually the enforcer that then turned kind of new boss? What if Jacob was actually the one that was in that position? Because I think Jacob would actually tell this story so much better.
Is Jacob the one with the red hair? Or like the
yes.
Okay. I kind of agree with that. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like he feels more intense. And he just gives more of a leader vibe to me.
And he is insane. I mean, that some of the moves that I've actually seen, because I've seen a couple of moves, because I was like, oh my God, who is this guy that has literally just destroyed Cody Rhodes? So then I jumped onto YouTube to find out, like everyone did, find out who this guy was. And oh my God, someone Jacob's size should not be doing half the shit that he does. It's as simple as that.
The problem lies in for him though is that they have to battle to get him into most places. So in particular, like Canada, they had to pull over so many, like go through so many hoops and stuff. Because I don't know why that is. I think it's because he's got a criminal record of some sort.
It's hard to get into Canada when you have a criminal record.
Yeah, I can't remember.
In certain states, like some states in America are often like tougher than others in terms of having convictions and stuff. Some will be okay, but then others will just straight up say absolutely no. So I do think they would want to put him in more of the storylines, but I think because of that reason, he never will be, because it's just hard work to get him as like a permanent mainstay on the roster. Because I know it for sure. If they were able to get him everywhere, like he'd have much more of a say in things. But I do generally just think it's.
I kind of blame booking him with that as well, though, because at the end of the day, if you actually remember, his booking was atrocious before he even got put into this position. I mean, why are people? I'm going to call it exactly how it is. Why are people supposed to care that he's now wanting the head of the table thing when basically he was going on some hell of a losing streak? They tried to have him destroy John Cena and then did absolutely nothing after that. Then he came in and basically attacked Cody again for a couple of weeks. It was just such bad booking on Solo's part, because I swear we near enough lost nearly every single match leading into that WrestleMania build. And then you're supposed to expect, like, to believe, like, I know that wrestling is suspension of disbelief, and I get that to an extent. Basically, but when you actually look at it this way, you're supposed to believe that someone that's losing week in, week out on weekly television is now supposed to be the one taking Roman's spot. I don't know. It didn't. It felt very off to me in that respect.
I mean, I think the first pay-per-view we watched together, like that I was there for, was like Royal Rumble. And between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, I think I saw that guy lose like 5-6 times between Raw and like different pay-per-views and stuff. So it is kind of weird that he's coming in here being like, well, I'm the new guy, when like realistically, emotionally, and like storytelling wise, like the WWE has set Roman to be like, I'm the guy. They made him the guy. They had him win matches as if he's the guy. He came out, had that opposing look to him and feel, had, Paul Heyman by his side, making sure everybody knew he was the guy. I saw him on ESPN before WrestleMania freaking ESPN. He was talking to Stephen A. Smith about wrestling. And like, I don't ever imagine we will ever see Solo outside of wrestling talking about wrestling, because he's not that guy. Roman just was and is that guy. So it's hard to, it would be like if you replaced Triple H when in the DX era. Imagine replacing Triple H with all four of like, you know, Ass Man and everybody like that and X-Pac, replacing Triple H with freaking just some random like one of his, I don't even know who would be the comparison for back then. With imagine Scotty 2 Hotty taking over DX after Triple H left. You would be like
Val Venus.
Exactly. Like a Test. Imagine if Test became the leader of DX after Triple H like went like got hurt or something. You'd be like, I don't take this seriously at all. Like, who are you? Get out of here.
I dug a little bit deeper into just now while you were talking into why Jason Fatu isn't allowed. Jason Fatu, I'm making up a Jacob Fatu isn't allowed into places. He was actually arrested for a robbery, but when he was 18 years old. So I'm kind of obviously I don't know the ins and outs of what he did. I'm not going to read into that, but like obviously every action has a consequence. I get that, but it's fairly unfortunate that something you've done when you're 18 and you were a bit younger and a bit dumber, like then affects you. I suppose it's kind of half and half, isn't it? Because if you do something like that, you kind of deserve what you get in essence. But like 20 or 30 years on, when he's probably developed into a better human, like it's fairly unfortunate for you to still be unable to do things because of something you did when you were 18. But
I think the crazy part for me is that, like, I don't know, like you would think wrestlers and stuff like that would have more of a history with issues like this, where it wouldn't be as big of a problem in the wrestling world, because like bookies and like, you know, venues and stuff, they just kind of get it. Like, okay, these are just wrestlers. Like they're not like the most stable people in the world. They're probably going to have some type of histories. So like, let's work with them versus it being like a thing where it's like, dang, this is really like preventing me from being successful in my wrestling career because of something I did when I was like 18. But again, I also see both sides of it. So
a lot of the old generation of wrestlers, like your Eddie Guerrero type wrestlers, a lot of those had like colored, very colored backgrounds. So
maybe it's just a thing of the generation where like less wrestlers have been getting into stuff like that. But like maybe if this was like the 80s, he would have been perfectly fine. They would have been, oh, bro, just, you know, give this guy $100 on the way in and you're good, you know. But I don't know how it works now.
We've got just a flashback to the Royal Rumble. We've got an entrant number 30 in the lobby at the moment. And
whoa!
Say my name and I appear.
What's going on, Lee?
Entrance number 30 in the 2024 Royal Rumble. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you doing? You all right?
Doing good.
Yes.
I had to make an appearance. I had to make an appearance as soon as I heard Test and Val Venus joining DX.
You could just imagine the sponsorship and everything, like DX towels and everything. You know?
Oh my gosh!
Socks, probably.
I would have stopped watching wrestling if that would have happened.
It would have been different. It was a different time.
Yeah. But no, it's just like one of those things. I just don't see him as a leader. But I do want to say shout outs to Rikishi and Umaga, RIP.
Yeah,
they are producing like the next generation of like great wrestlers. They literally just produced them themselves. I don't know
through a conveyor belt system, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw Maga's youngest son. He's not in the WWE now. Yeah, Zilla. might be one of my favorite new wrestlers to watch because guy is so exciting and he does the flying Samoa spike, which I'm so surprised nobody's done that before. Like nobody else is doing a Samoan spike while traveling through the air, flying at you. It just feels like it should have been done 30 years ago at this point. Like it gives me the vibes of the RKO, where it can come out of anywhere. I've seen them do it to people while they were at the top rope, while they were jumping mid-air on the ground. I've just seen them do it in a lot of different ways, and it just was like that's kind of giving me the same vibe as like the RKO. So that's dope.
It's genuinely like it's a finisher. It's a finish that it's a finisher that was like genuinely terrifying as well, all at like once, and you don't often get that with finishing moves because you see them an awful lot. But every time you hit that, it was genuinely terrifying, and it was in your dreams when you're going to sleep at night. Just gonna set myself. But then you would get someone striked, and you'd be straight back up again. Like so.
And honestly, as a wrestling fan, like I think it looks so cool that you don't think about the logistics of it at all. Like, does that hurt his finger? Like, how bad does that actually hurt in real life? Like, you're not thinking about any of that. Did it hit him in the eye? Like you're just like, that looks super freaking cool. He's got tape on his thumb, so you know his thumb is probably okay. He's hitting you. It probably hurts. He's strong. So, like, you don't even think about the logistics of if that works or not in real life.
And especially as we went through a day and age of wrestling as well, when there were actually a freaking snake sock puppet being used in a finisher move. I think logic can go out the window then.
I've just
got visions. Cobra.
Then I've got visions of when you said that as well, of Rikishi and Umaga as the children were born, just going, this one's going to be a wrestler. This one's not going to be a wrestler. This one's not going to be a wrestler.
The crazy thing is, I don't think they wanted any of their kids to be wrestlers because they knew how tough the road and everything was. All the kids were just like, no, I saw you do it, Dad. I'm going to do it now. So, like, hey, kids are like sponges.
I want to do the stink face just like you, Dad.
Maybe not all the moves.
Your oldest son.
Although they do kind of do that move where they like run to the side and then just throw their butt at them. So that's kind of like a new age stink face if you think about it.
Nice.
I think you'll get that from most of like the old from the wrestlers, won't you? Like that have children, they'll all kind of go, well, I never really want them to be wrestlers, but then it turns out pretty much every time a wrestler has any child. They always want to become a wrestler. So
the kids are always so good at wrestling. It's like you can't help but put them in the industry. Like, you know, if Randy Orton wanted to do anything else, I'm sorry, but you're like you'd probably be a better wrestler than anything else you ever would have did in your life. So I'm glad you became a wrestler, Randy. I know he watches this too. So shout out to you.
Yeah. Big up, Randy.
Obviously. So I will quickly run through the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And then
actually, guys, I actually have to call it. I have to get clock back in.
Quickly shout out your coasters and stuff like that.
Oh, what do I got here? Guys, I have a shirt. That's the right shirt.
Get the merch out.
Yeah, here's the right shirt. I brought out the wrong shirt for a second. I got a shirt here. Nice. Merch. Yes, I know a lot of people have been walking around without shirts or anything on their bodies, but now you have an option. You can put on a shirt sometimes. So like whenever you're like, man, it's so cold. Why am I shivering? Put one of these on. Put two. You know, they come in long sleeves and short sleeves. And I know you guys may have never seen them before, but they have backs to them. So there's room for things to be on the back and the front. You see? That wasn't a magic trick. I reversed it. It's like magic.
Best reversal I've seen this week.
Best of both worlds. Guys, Google that. You know. But yeah, I invented the shirt. I know nobody's ever seen. It's made out of fabric. I know you guys probably don't know what that is, but one day they're going to be the biggest things out there. You're going to see everybody wearing a shirt. I do have a mug, but it's too far away to grab it. I got stickers. Guys, these sticked things, if you never heard of that, it's like when you put something on something and it stays there. Adhesive, permanent adhesive of my logo. You could put it on things, not your body, but like on things, and it will stay there forever. Put it on your car. It'll be there. It'll be like, hey, look who's there. I got my wall changed. You know, shout outs to my grandmother Alicia for making that. That is a drawn, that's a hand-drawn thing of this. It looks pretty dope. That's cool. It's just new stuff's getting added all the time. Yeah, guys, buy the merch. Go to the channel. It's my name. Just type that name in, Devon Rucker, into YouTube. You'll see the channel.
You type his name and he will appear.
Yeah, type the name in. Type it in on Google. I just found out recently. I think I am actually the most famous person named Devon Rucker, like in the world. Like if you Google my name, I'm like one of the only people that come up. It's insane. Now I don't know. I'm not the most famous Rucker, because there's still Darius Rucker and like there's some like football players and soccer players. But as far as like Devon Rucker, like that exclusive, like first and last, I am the king. So follow me. Just type in you got to type in the first and last name.
The thing is,
yeah. So I'm the most famous person with my name. Shout outs to me.
So the first and last name, when I type it into Google, the top few things to come up are literally your Twitter and your Instagram. I'm not even lying at this point.
There you go.
Genuinely, you type in the first and the last name, and the first.
I do not lie on this podcast, guys. I never give you guys false information. Everything I've ever said on here is true. All my booking ideas are the best. Tony, you guys could use me so freaking bad. I'm so sorry I don't get to review the AEW pay-per-view, but I will give my thoughts on it later when I talk to Sam after I get off of work. So, guys, thank you as always. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
See you later.
All right,
thanks
guys.
for coming in, man.
Anytime.
And now it's a triple threat match.
So,
watch out.
It is.
I need to have words with this young man, by the way. Okay. This young man has been calling me out on Twitter.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, it's on. It's on. One-on-one, Shane. It's going to happen in Chelmsford Town Centre. One of these days, young man.
Okay, well, you've got to take on Cena first.
I've got to give you an exclusive. So I have officially put my name forward to bring it on John Cena in the Open Challenge for the year. But it appears I have a challenger. So Shane, bring all you've got, son. Just bring it.
So I hear you have your declaration. It doesn't matter what you declare. You can take your declaration.
No, you roll jabroni and shut your mouth. Where's the host gone?
I think I best get in the middle of this. It's getting a little heated.
I'm not sure if anyone
we need a special guest referee.
It happened on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It happened on Twitter.
Yeah. We got 2 words for X.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think Posh 30 would be better as a special guest referee. I think Posh would make an amazing
dear, I'm not sure about that. He's likely to screw me again. So did we disrupt a podcast there? I'm sorry about that.
Yep.
It's a little segment away. So
Maybe I should change my handle. Shane the Disruptor.
Nice. Like it. It's a good gimmick. I like it.
I left this little bit until last on purpose from this pay-per-view. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock for the past sort of couple of weeks, you'll know that John Cena came on the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and announced his imminent retirement. Well, imminent. I say imminent. He's going to be around for Royal Rumble 2025, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania 41. So it's hardly that imminent. But apparently that will be his last few pay-per-views. Again, we always knew this day.
So I saw the post-show after Money in the Bank, and he's going to be retiring basically at the end of the calendar year next year. So he will most likely be on SummerSlam and other things like that. I think he's got about 30 to 40 dates that's being spoken about at the moment.
Oh. So he's getting himself around before he retires. Then that's for sure.
He's going to headline the O2 against me first.
Oh yeah, I'm in for that.
He can't see me.
Unless I jump the barricade with my briefcase and make it a triple threat.
Oh, you're going to cashing in the Shane in the Bank.
Uh-huh.
So I think I'll go away and make a video about this, potentially live about this anyway, because obviously he's going to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, of sort of my era of wrestling. So I do think it kind of deserves a live
Definitely
to this one, because obviously that can be a sad day when that happens. So yeah. I am going to skip my way on over to Heatwave, I think, now. This was the same weekend as Money in the Bank. And let me just find my notes. There's quite a few of them. So,
is this one you saw?
This week. Oh, I did actually see this one.
Okay.
I did actually watch it from start to finish. It was absolutely fantastic. But let me find the notes. I'll get there eventually. Here we are. I've got it. So, in capital letters, just to make it that little bit more meaningful, I put what a pay-per-view from start to finish. That one was my favourite pay-per-view of this year, away from Mania. So obviously, for the first time in an extremely long time, if not ever, NXT have kind of outshone the main roster's pay-per-view Money in the Bank completely, which obviously as a long-term NXT watcher, that's amazing for me. But actually, I think it's put a lot of people on watch as well, and I've got them into NXT because kind of I think they're all kind of. Lee looks very confused there.
Only because I froze out for a little bit, mate. I'm not on Wi-Fi.
Oh no, that's all right. So actually, I do.
And
I do think
I can't add much. I can't add much.
No, that's all right.
Unfortunately,
no,
I'm
that's
gonna mute.
All right.
It's very loud where I am.
It's all good. So yeah, for the first time in a very long time, they kind of outshone the main pay-per-view. I think because people weren't that happy or weren't that excited by Money in the Bank, they looked for alternatives, and alternatives they definitely got in this. It kind of felt like to me like one of the old NXT Takeover pay-per-views that were just.
That's what I was going to say.
Every match pretty much sold that it could go either way, even though there was only one title change in the whole. And like I mentioned before, definitely get a lot of eyes on NXT, and hopefully NXT can capitalize on it and yeah, propel their sort of programming to the next level. Quickly, just to run through the matches, Obafemi was against Wesley. He retained his title. Kalani Jordan of Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan retained. Nathan Fraser and Axiom retained against Chase Roxanne Perez retained against Lola Vice. And then the only title change was that of Trick Williams losing the title to Ethan Page. And then the show ended with a surprise picture of somebody that I'm not sure who it was, to be honest. Do you guys know anything about this guy? I'm not really sure.
I think I've heard of it. I understand if you clap your hands a couple of times and you say his name, he might appear. He's only the biggest thing. He's only the biggest thing in wrestling right now, mate. I believe. I believe. Not in Bo Dallas, but in Joe Hendry.
So you don't believe.
No.
You believe.
That's the one, mate. I'll have to do my research on that one because sounds like quite a big deal. So, quickly jumping into the NXT. Sean, I'm making up names now. Did you see the pay-per-view / have any views on it?
I did. And yes, that's 100% the best endorsement I can give it as well. It felt like Triple H, best era of Triple H NXT. That's exactly what that pay-per-view felt like. I couldn't keep my eyes off of it. And the NXT championship match, it is official now. Ethan falling into being champion. Absolutely, wow! I still have that finishing shot in my head, and I don't know how they pulled that off, but to have him literally fall into the pinfall was just brilliant. I also have to give a shout out as well in terms of the Sol Ruka match. That was better than I even thought it could be. I thought it could be good, but I didn't think it was going to be nearly show-stealing good. And it really was. That was an amazing match between Sol and Kalani Jordan. They've really hit it out of the gate when it comes to this new championship, and I hope that they continue.
Yeah, it's going to be a shame when these kind of the female wrestlers actually kind of just stand at the minute, because at the minute they've got the strongest. I don't even think on the main roster when I look at the women's division, it's as strong as the NXT women's division at the minute in terms of how many talents there are on one show. It's being touted a lot because they've got so many up and comers, and you can see that so many of them are going to go on to such amazing things. Farouk is one of them. That she's another level. Like, she could fit herself into quite a few of them. I think before you jump in there, I think quite a few of them could easily put themselves in the main roster of female talent and fit straight in. I think that's why people are going a little bit nuts about it all.
And what I was going to say about Roxanne Perez as well, that she's had an absolutely outstanding period as NXT Women's Champion, and she's had banger after banger. And let's not forget she's got a victory against Jordan Grace as well, not too long ago. And she's been outstanding. I think it's only a matter of time in terms of her going upwards, because I know what you're saying about the women's division in the main roster, because it certainly feels like, for me, it's missing a bit of a star name, and maybe one of them star names have just started reappearing on Raw, but it appears that I mean, I'm obviously talking about Rhea Ripley, but it sounds like she's not cleared to go right now. But when you've got her out and Flair out still, it does feel like something's missing a little bit for me. And that's what makes Roxanne Perez and holding the... sorry, I've just swiped my message from my wife just for a moment. But I'll get to that in just a second. You know, she ain't watching. Don't worry. She knows I'm going to be out tonight. That's not. But yeah, what I'm saying with Perez and everything like that, she's doing a great job as champion, and she's only going to get elevated a lot further forward. I'm going to mute again because it's loud. There you go.
Yeah, no, it's all good. See, I know what Lee's saying in terms of that Roxanne Perez will eventually go up, but I really don't like those days because as a long term, like watching NXT, it always seems like they look amazing in NXT, and then they sort of come up and they just kind of have that little bit of, oh my god, they're new, and then they just kind of fall off to the wayside. I'm really hoping with all the talent we've got at the minute, and with Triple H being fully in charge now, and obviously Shawn Michaels doing what he does for NXT, I'm hoping that changes. But yeah, I never like to see it because you grow to love a wrestler in NXT, and then they always kind of go up and kind of go, oh yeah. So I hope that's different. So quickly running over what happened on the NXT after Heatwave. I won't include what happened last night because I haven't had time to watch it yet.
I do. I know a little bit.
Oh dear. I'll just run through the week before quickly because there's some big moments. So Ethan Page started the show, interrupted by Trick, who wanted this rematch now. I thought it was really cool because he kind of straight up denied it and was like, no, you're not having it. Spears comes into chance of you screwed Trick, and that Sean says Ethan needs to thank him because he basically gave him a title, and they said, oh no, I won the title on my own, that sort of thing. So then Javon Evans comes in and to remind them they nearly beat them all. A brawl kind of breaks out between them all, setting up a tag team match for later on in the evening. But all of that tag match was not announced until a couple of lines time, and then it will be. Tony D'Angelo retains the Heritage Cup against Lexis King. He's on they're on a mad thing on NXT where every single week Tony D'Angelo is retaining the Heritage Cup, and it's just getting a bit boring and dull now. So they need to stop it. So Wesley, this is the other big moment. Wesley came out and sounded like he's ready to quit, but was interrupted. This is really interesting because obviously I know you'll see in the minute I've done a little bit of background as well, but I know them from these two guys from seeing them live as well. And I'm really surprised they are. I'm really surprised they are back in the picture because obviously because WWE fired one of them, and all the stuff is very public. So I'm not gonna go into what happened. You can do that research yourself if you like, in particular. But I was just really surprised that I know TNA and NXT have got a partnership now. But I was really surprised that WWE was willing to have someone back on their product. I know they're from NXT, that they'd previously got rid of in difficult circumstances. So that was really surprising. So
of course, you haven't mentioned their names. I will mention it. It was the team formerly known as MSK, correct?
Yeah, I've done my background. I've got a little bit of a how this all ties in because obviously it might be good for people to know. I kind of had to do my digging a little bit. So Wesley sounded like he was going to quit. Go on.
Yeah, I'm also a huge TNA head here, so I also know them as the Rascals as well. And yes, so loved them as Rascals. They were brilliant.
So they both came out. So Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel came out as part of the Rascals tag team in TNA. Wesley and Zachary go back to a time in NXT together. So basically I did a little bit of research because they mentioned the Rascals, obviously that's their part of in TNA, and they mentioned the wider picture of MSK. So MSK is one that I had to go back and do my digging. So basically, in 2020, Zachary Wempf and Wesley, who was called Xavier then at the time, tagged together as MSK. And Trey Miguel was off doing his own thing at the same time. So their names were changed to, as it is now, Wesley. But Zachary Wempf at the time was called Nash Carter. There were 2-time tag team champs. And then in April of 2022, Wentz was fired by WWE as a result of multiple allegations. Like I say, I'm not really into it. Happened a long time ago. It's in the past. They're obviously sorted out what they need to sort out, because it looks like they're going to be a stay. I know they appeared on NXT this week, from what I've read up a little bit. So it looks like they're going to be a stay. So after Zachary got fired from WWE, they formed the Rascals and kind of toured the British independent wrestling scene for a while. I saw them at a couple of shows, and then obviously as of TNA, as of when the revival of TNA came back, they kind of started the UK and found the best wrestlers that they could, taking on obviously those 2 guys. They took on what's his name? Can't think now. Seen them a few times. He was in a tag team in 1PW with a man like Darius. I can't think of the other guy's name. Leon Slater. They took him on around the same time.
Leon Slater. Now that's a name I know. He's the current heavyweight champion over at North, isn't he?
Yeah. So TNA signed him after, because TNA did a couple of UK shows and signed him over that period when they were first just starting back. If you haven't had a chance to see some of his stuff, absolutely unbelievable. He's such a young guy as well. I'm so pleased to have seen him before he's got to like TNA level. Every time I used to watch him on BW, just like you just sat there like how does he move like that? How is he so agile? Like how is he doing these moves that the actual wrestlers on big like promotions are doing? It was nuts. So yeah, that's kind of gone off context a little bit. So yeah, they came back. That looks like it's going to be a so it'd be, like I say, it'd be interesting to see how that kind of evolves, because obviously it's not they'll never be under the WWE brand. Potentially they'll always stay under TNA, so they'll be in that like little bracket thing between the two. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes, because obviously because of the past stuff that's happened. So the main event of that night, like I say, was the tag team match with a mystery guest. I wonder who that mystery guest was. Did you know who it was, Mr. Lee Meadows?
I might have a clue. Would you like me to say his name again?
Yeah, potentially. I'm not don't know much about this guy.
Yes, it's one Joe Hendry, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
I know.
I'm really gonna have to.
Oh well, it's funny. It's funny because I was talking to one of my pals earlier on about this, and it's funny how Joe has blown up like he has. And I've been watching Joe for so many years on the UK independents, and obviously had such a huge part to play. And I love talking about WCPW because that's the thing that got me back to watching the wrestling, and to be part of watching that internet, or being in the internet audience and watching him develop as he has, and is such a unique character. In the fact that he manages to get to parody an amazing entrance theme for each of his opponents is just incredible. I think he's just amazing. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question because I want to get this out before my phone does die. Do you think? So I understand that Hendry has got about a year left on his contract at TNA. Do you think it is possible that Hendry, being that he's got very involved with everything in the main event in NXT, do you think him under contract at TNA, do you think it's possible he could get that NXT heavyweight title?
So there's obviously been a lot of the rumor mill's going a little bit mad in terms of him coming on, obviously, the show and how that propels him to maybe an NXT title shot. I think everyone's there for it. I think it's been kind of like a breath of fresh air for people to have like a new face to go nuts over. Like you can even see, like obviously it's a massive thing back here, but you can even see in like the couple of appearances he's made in NXT now, even the Americans have the same sort of excitement for him as well, which is really good to see. I certainly don't think it's as bonkers as it would sound. I would certainly be up for it. The way NXT is going at the minute, that puts so many eyes on them. So I can only see it as a positive if they were to do that. I'm not sure. Having done that WCW thing with the other weekly, I'm unsure about how it would be to actually give him the title. Learning past mistakes. I don't think it would be. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be anything like that. But I'm a little bit unsure how it sits in terms of giving somebody that's not on the NXT roster the NXT Championship. It's not kind of sit that great for me, to be honest. It's not like
I don't think straight away. What I'm thinking is because Ethan Page has just picked up that title, hasn't he? But I do think it's very possible down the line, and perhaps either I'll probably give it a little while. I'm thinking sort of around Survivor Series, Royal Rumble sort of time, and wherever the NXT pay-per-views align with that, I think it might be a pretty good timeline for things to get involved. And I wouldn't even rule out Hendry appearing in the Royal Rumble match itself in January.
That would be great. That would be great.
I have a theory, and my theory is I do think he will. And the reason I think he will is there has been a few rumors around his contract, and I have a feeling he is going to sign with WWE when it ends. I do. I actually think this might be testing the waters to see how he's perceived, and I have a feeling that might be the icing on the cake of signing. Is basically I do think he will get the title shot, and I do think he will win the title.
He's so marketable as well, Hendry, and he's got this uncanny knack of going viral all over like the music charts, as we spoke about previously, and he's just an incredible talent. I was going to say something else, and that's just gone out of my head. But he's, like I said, he's got this uncanny ability to make such an impact so quickly. And then obviously WWE see a lot of him because Sam might not know, and I won't spoil it for him, but he did clap appear on NXT yesterday as well.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
I have. I say I haven't watched it. I did read kind of what happened in the case of there was anything massive that happened that I had to say tonight. But yeah, I do know kind of what has happened loosely. But yeah, I do think that he's great. If WWE didn't believe in him, I'm pardon the fun again. But if they didn't believe in what he could do, then they wouldn't have had him like 3 times now, I think. So including this week, like obviously he's appeared on NXT 3 times. He's appeared on Heatwave just by picture at the end. But if they didn't believe in him somewhat, they wouldn't have had him all these times back. So I think that says a lot. And in that match, he did also, because obviously a lot of people will have just seen the out of the ring personality. A lot of people probably haven't seen him wrestle at all. So he did get quite a lot of time in that main event a couple of weeks ago. Pardon me. A couple of weeks ago, he did get.
That popped me. That did. Better out than in.
Yeah, the reality of being live. So he did get quite a good account for himself in terms of wrestling as well during that match, which is really good for him to not only just have that persona outside of the ring, because right now that's all everybody's kind of seeing, but to have that kind of in-ring work that looked really good as well, kind of gave him another edge, I think, as well, because obviously a lot of eyes are on that NXT after the amazing Heatwave. So yeah, that's NXT. I'm going to do a weird jump now and just quickly go through Forbidden Door, because I realise the time that we're on. So Forbidden Door was good. It was a very long pay-per-view, as NXT as AEW pay-per-views always are. It was something that I'm sure it's pretty much like 4 and a bit hours. It was a long one.
Yeah.
So, and then there was, believe it or not, there were 4 matches on the pre-show as well. Like, that is just crazy to have 4 matches on a pre-show. It's just out of this world. Like, yeah, I didn't see any of them.
It just gives you an indication. It just gives you an indication how bloated the AEW roster is, that they're doing 4 matches on a pre-show.
Yeah,
gotta get those multi-man matches.
That just shows that they've got to. That shows that they've got to, in order to get the talent they want on a pay-per-view, they need to do 4 matches on a pre-show. That's just nuts. But quickly moving on, MJF was up first against. See, this is. I remember watching this pay-per-view and thinking, when I've got to review this in a couple of weeks' time, a lot of these names, because you hear it a lot on when you're watching it, they're fine. But 2 weeks later, when you have to look at some of these names and think, right, I've got 2 options here. I can try my best, or I can butcher it completely. And a lot of these probably are going to be that. So MJF was fighting a guy called Heshero, I think, something like that.
Perfect, mate.
I don't think it's
Sarah or something like
that. Yeah, that's the one. So MJF did win that match. Fantastic build up to the match over Dynamite over a couple of weeks. Did not disappoint the match. Both looked really strong. We then had the Acclaimed and Tanahashi versus the Young Bucks and Okada. The Elite won in what was an okay match. Not terrible, not amazing at the same time. A very mid matchup. I was very brief on these notes because I realised how many I had. So we had the Owen Hart Tournament quarterfinal between Bryan Danielson and Shingo. That's obviously finished now, and we know the results of that one. If you don't, spoiler alert, they're coming. It's a fantastic wrestling match, and one of the matches of the night for me. Bryan Danielson picking up the win to advance. The Toni Storm match between her and Mina. I'm going to just go with Mina because I can't think of a second name or how to pronounce it, and I don't want to do a disservice to this person. So it was a really good match. So much better than the normal Toni Storm matches that have kind of become squash matches in that she retains every time. So this was so much better than the normal matches. Much more watchable in terms of Toni Storm matches that of recent. I've kind of skipped through all of them, but this one I thought maybe it's different, and it was. Thankfully, she got fully taken to the limit, which was really good to see because we haven't seen that in her reign since the start of the reign, which was a long time ago now. So we also had Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. Again, much like the Bryan Danielson match, was a great technical wrestling match. Both were really good to watch. I think the Bryan Danielson match just pipped it, but I don't think this one was far away. Zack Sabre Jr. matches just turns to gold. Whoever he's wrestling. There's a couple of people that do this. My good old friend Will Ospreay is one of them. Zack Sabre Jr. is another one. There's a couple of names that you can. Yeah,
yes,
bruv. He stopped using. To be fair, it's quite cool because he's actually stopped using bruv so much. In
I think
AEW
MJF was the one that took that away.
So there's, like I say, there's a couple of them that turn every match to gold. Zack Sabre Jr. is definitely one of them. We had then probably the worst match of the night because we also had the chance of Please Retire from the crowd to Chris Jericho, which was I don't know how I sit with that because he's potentially past his best work in the ring, but I do think it's really, really disrespectful to someone that has one of the biggest wrestlers like to ever do it. So I do think it's really disrespectful for a crowd to start chanting that, knowing the impact he's had on modern wrestling. And I know lots of us have spoke about the sort of terms of his wrestling is not as good as it was. But I think I've always been the first to stop people in terms of slating his name too much because he doesn't deserve it at all. His work away from the ring is still as good as anyone's. So apart from this whole learning tree stuff, that's just really cringy and it makes me cringe. But yeah,
I will say his comeback though to when that chant was happening. And when he actually turned around and went, "Thank you for chanting, please retire, because it will mean I'll be in every Hall of Fame ever." I did actually pop for that comeback. I thought that was a brilliant comeback.
Yeah. I just think it was fairly. Yeah, I did. It didn't. Obviously, I kind of had to say it, but it didn't really sit well with me because I just thought that's not how we should be. Go on, Lee.
Especially for someone who's been sorry, Shane. Especially for someone who's managed to reinvent himself so often, and bear in mind, clearly he has been around a long time, but goodness me, he's still doing a fair job as far as I'm concerned, in and out of the ring, and he's so important to everything that AEW has done. I mean, have a bit of respect, I would say. It's so weird, by the way, doing a podcast on location when you get recognised by some of the people around me. Oh, it's so weird doing this in front of everybody. It's so weird.
No way, that's nuts. But yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it? Like his list work in WWE, like that character of Jericho will stay with me forever. I'm forever sending people like gifts of you made the list and they don't have a clue what I'm going on about. But like I do. There's a couple of people around me that do as well. But most of the time when I send that gif out there, you've made the list. It's funny to people, but people don't get why it's funny. Because I can just envision it.
You've just made the list.
It was just at the time. At the time, you probably went, "Oh my god, everybody's made the list now." Like, it kind of got a little bit silly. But as you look back at it, you only hold like such good memories when he just like, yeah, like the commentators would say to him, he's like, "You made the list." Like, it was the best.
And I think he did it to Byron Saxton at one point as well. And Kevin Patrick, I think he did it to him as well. I think possibly.
Just before I'm about to head out, guys, because my phone's going to run out, and I don't want to just abandon you without any announcements. So, Sam, again, it's always a pleasure appearing here on Wrestle Dogs. It's always fun talking to Shane as well. My new Twitter rival. That's the banner. That's where you can find me on YouTube. We're Gooner Gathering. You can find me at Goonerly Mage. You can find me at Gooner Gathering on X as well. Been a pleasure, gentlemen. I am out of here. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you for coming in.
Pleasure. See you later.
So yeah, going on to that one. So Samoa Joe. Don't know who that is. Samoa Joe, Shibata, and Hook took on Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Jeff Cobb in the biggest squash match of squash matches. Hook, Joe, and Shibata did pick up the win though. Then we had the ladder match for the newly crowned TNT champion. This match was it was okay. It wasn't anything absolutely unbelievable. It was just okay. The result, like you say, was very predictable. I had this one locked off weeks and weeks and weeks before the pay-per-view. Like, as soon as we knew that Jack Perry was in it, like, it didn't really matter who else was in it. He was obviously going to win it. So again, yeah, it was nothing. It was okay.
No, I was going to say, especially when the Bucks actually more or less crowned him before Danielson even, no, not Danielson, Daniels basically announced that it was going to be a ladder match and things like that. I was like, yeah, he's winning it.
Yeah, it was what it was. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. We had the title for title, which was really good. It was okay. I say it was really good. It was kind of okay. Again, you kind of knew it was really predictable as to what was going to happen. It certainly wasn't as bad as some of the other matches, like the Chris Jericho match and stuff. It was kind of somewhere in the middle of them all for me. So obviously Mercedes Moné won both the titles. It's a weird one. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It just seemed, I don't know. It just seemed like AEW did it just because WWE did something just like it. It just seemed like they did it. We'll do it as well. It didn't feel that great. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't really know if we know really anymore. We know little bits, but it's only been like celebration type stuff. We had two more matches, one being the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match between Moxley and Naito. So basically the story behind this was who Jon Moxley took the title from. I hope I've done my research and done that right. I'm pretty sure that's right. So yeah, I think so. So I think that was the build up in like the storytelling and stuff. So Jon Moxley lost the title. Again, it was a good match. It was a lot better than most of them. It wasn't fantastic. It was just okay. But yeah, watchable, very watchable. And then we got to by far the easiest, best match of the night. Swerve and Will Ospreay. If you haven't watched it, I would very much recommend you go back and watch it. Obviously the two top guys in the business, which kind of showed in that match. Any further thoughts? I know I've just flown through that really quickly. Any thoughts on anything?
So yeah, one thing I will say, adding to the Moné thing, I don't know what they're doing with the fact of them two being like the two titles going on to her. I think it's a little bit of crowd, like fan service type of situation to Moné in a way, because I think I read something that the title that she also won was one that was created for her or something like that, and then that whole thing happened with her injury. So I wonder if it's something to do with that. I really hope it's not like a unification down the line, because that's going to really suck. What I will say though is the most memorable thing that happened from that match was actually after the match, and I'll do it just like this. That is definitely the most memorable thing that happened from that entire match, was seeing, after so long, seeing Britt Baker back in AEW. It's been a long time coming, and yeah, I cannot wait to see her back in the ring. That it's gonna.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that kind of saved that match is that happened at the end. I think without that, everybody would have said it. Again, I missed that bit out, but I shouldn't have. But again, that's why I said it was okay, like because of that at the end. Take that out of it, and I'd probably said that was terrible because it just wasn't great. It was okay in what it became. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good pay per view. I remember saying this time last year that was one of my favorite pay per views of that year. Forbidden Door, as of not this one, the year before. That was outstanding. But this one, I got really excited based off the year before. And I don't think the matches on this one were anywhere near as strong as they were in the year before. Like I say, there were some good matches, but for most of the time, it was kind of just watchable. It wasn't anything amazing, apart from sort of, like I say, 3 matches. So, because I'd come up with because obviously we had Forbidden Door and Money in the Bank around at the same time. So I kind of came up with, right, which one's going to be better, and then which one ended up being better. And I think it's really tough because my bias would be towards Forbidden Door, because I again, like, I'm trying to take my biases out of it and look at it in kind of in the same light, but I still think Forbidden Door does beat it, just mainly by the main event that they had between Swerve and Will Ospreay. And I just don't think Money in the Bank, for the bits that I've seen and what I've read, really performed at all. So I don't think it's a massive landslide between the two. One was massively better, because it wasn't. I just think, I think for me, Forbidden Door kind of pipped it. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think it's a really tough question, to be honest, because I think both underperformed.
Yeah, both did. There were definitely things that hampered both, which we have gone over. I would always say, though, that I've always got that bit more excitement level for Forbidden Door, because when you know it's coming up, you don't know who the dream matches are going to be, and that is what Forbidden Door is. It's literally like the one time when you're going to see this person and get to actually see them go head to head. And if you want to talk about like the main event, 2 people to build your promotion around, Will Ospreay, Swerve. That's it. I mean, I know that people will throw MJF in there, and at times he has been someone to throw in there. But yeah, at the moment, 2 people that AEW need to literally be building the promotion around are those 2. Bar none.
Yeah, for sure, because they're in a world where they can give both of them a title as well. So that's great for them, because they can just build both of them together but separately at the same time, because they've each got a title that goes in a different direction. So
yeah,
obviously there's a big one this week in terms of Will Ospreay fighting MJF. I was really hoping, and I'm really disappointed because I was really hoping that would be All In, because I would have been really excited by that matchup. But I can't see them doing it on this week. They've done it because it's a special 250th Dynamite and whatever. They've done that, but I feel they've really missed a trick because I think that match would have gone insane at All In. I don't see them doing it twice, unfortunately.
Based on how, if we're going into Dynamite, based on how things went with Daniel Garcia and MJF, I have a feeling that is what's going to be All In. I just have this strange feeling that Garcia will come back in time for the build to that. And oh my God, if there's ever a match to look forward to there after what happened there, definitely that match.
But then I would really want that. I would be selfish and I would want that as a triple threat for Will's title. I think that would be ace. Because obviously they're all in that kind of storyline now, in different aspects. Because obviously going on to the Dynamite after, Will Ospreay did fight Daniel Garcia for the title, and retained it, of course. But yeah, I think that's a really good option they've got as well. Because yes, we've seen all of those kind of face each other in different ways, but I think that's a good way to bring it all together. So we also found out on the Dynamite afterwards, we found out that Bryan Danielson was through to the final of the Owen Hart tournament to face Swerve Strickland at All In. I'm certainly really excited about seeing that one. I think that's going to be a match. And then the other in the men's semi-final, the other one was Wildcard came in as Adam Page and beat Jeff Jarrett. So that I've kind of skipped a bit, haven't I? Because I said the semi-final match put Bryan Danielson into the All In pay-per-view, but it didn't. He had to fight the week after against Adam Page in order to do it.
Yeah.
I've kind of I've jumped the gun there a little bit. So then in this week, so that was basically all that happened on the Dynamite after Forbidden Door. Apart from the women's semi-final match, and then Britt Baker returning and saying a little bit, and then last week's Dynamite, MJF challenged Will Ospreay for his title, which obviously, like we said, is accepted for this week as of tomorrow. Bryan Danielson obviously beat Adam Page in the tournament. Jeff Jarrett was a special guest enforcer, and then that sets that match up for All In. Swerve came in.
That a nice touch as well, having Jarrett be the special guest enforcer, especially with what he means to the Hart family. I really did find that quite a nice touch. I didn't know how they were going to have that play in, especially with how basically in the week before he was destroyed, absolutely destroyed by Page. I mean, I have to say one thing. Page right now, I would say, is probably the best he's ever been. This new side to Page where he is so obsessed with getting back at Swerve, and it's really refreshing to see that from Page, because we knew that he could wrestle, we knew that he could talk, we knew that we were going to get those things, but there's just, I know, I actually put a parallel that he's very much like Drew in WWE, in the way that basically he kind of shows a hypocritical side to himself as well, because we'll go into that with the with that episode. Is basically Blood and Guts was announced, and Swerve entered himself in, and because Swerve entered himself in, Page, who turned around and told the Bucks to go do one the week before, then turned around and was like, "Oh, Swerve's in, I'm in," and that's where I'm getting in with the whole hypocritical side to the character, like Drew, in the way that basically he will turn around and say, "Oh, this happened, this happened, this happened to me," and then he'll go and do that to get his narrative across. I do find them very similar, and that's what I think I'm looking about both characters.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting you say about Adam Page as well, because I do think that before when I've seen him on the past in AEW, they kind of tend to book him exactly the same things over and over again. So I hope they don't fall back into that trap and they give him kind of how he wants to do it, rather than just, because before they were just kind of throwing him into things. So obviously, that Swerve came on and kind of, like Shane's just said, announced Blood and Guts, and that he was on Team AEW, and that at All In he's going to end Bryan Danielson's career. So I do completely agree with that Jeff Jarrett thing, because I guess we were all hoping that, I know me and Lee were sort of really hoping that Jeff Jarrett would get through to the finals and further on. But I think that all changed potentially for AEW. That maybe was, I kind of hope that was what they wanted to play out. But then Bryan Danielson came out and said, this is the last title run of my career. So I think then things changed. I hope that was, again, that's me kind of hoping. I'll never know if I'm right or wrong, but I guess, like you say, it was kind of a nice touch to fit him in somehow. I think maybe, I don't know, having
I was going to say, my heart wanted him to win it, to be honest. And then obviously the situation with Bryan Danielson kind of came in and it was like, oh, well, yeah, but then he's retiring, and it's like heart and head was just kind of going back and forth.
Yeah. See, I don't think it's as, because obviously it's going to be Bryan Daniels' last run at the title, and he said that. So you would think that the title's changing, but I'm not sure it will. It obviously makes sense. It obviously makes sense in terms of his last title run to give him that title, but then in terms of the bigger picture of AEW, for somebody that's going to leave after this match, why would you then give your showpiece, your big title, to him, for him then to just finish wrestling? I know it's a nice touch, but in the grander scheme of things, I don't actually think it'll happen. I think Swerve will retain.
Well, I'm going to actually say why I actually think it might. Tony Khan has done it before. Don't forget, he did it with Sting. He actually had them basically have the championships, and then it got put on Bacon.
Yeah. See, I do get what you mean. I just think that because the AEW Championship is, no disrespect to Sting and Darby Allin that won them, that's not their main centerpiece. Their main centerpiece is that AEW title. Again, I could be wrong. I'm just kind of thinking, if I was anybody in AEW, yes, it'd be really nice to give Bryan Danielson it, but it doesn't really make any sense to give your title away to then vacate your big title. It kind of makes you look a little bit silly.
Yeah, I do see exactly what you mean. My issue with them doing it as well is going to be that it would be yet another all-in / all-out season where the title would end up vacant. Because if we're going back on to like all-out, all-in seasons, we've got the infamous Brawl Out, and then we got Brawl In. But basically, Brawl In, it was a placeholder title that didn't really mean anything other than for story. All Out the year before did, and the title had to be vacated. So do you really want to go into yet another all out season where basically yet again you're going to have a vacant championship, and you're going to have probably a tournament, and you know Tony Khan likes his tournaments. So that's what we end up.
I just think at the minute it's damage limitation for AEW at the minute as well. Like they're not doing great at the minute. Like they're obviously the ratings are shocking based on stuff that's happened quite recently, and I just don't. I think they've got to do all they can to protect themselves a little bit, and I just think them giving away that title at All In just makes them look kind of daft and silly again, like they are kind of being thought about at the minute. So again, who knows what's going to happen? So Maria May then beat Willow Nightingale in the Owen Hart tournament final. So that sets up another match for All In between her and Toni Storm. She smacked her with the Owen Hart tournament belt that was quite brutal. She ran away like crying and bleeding. It was great. It was fantastic. And it sets it up amazingly, I think, for All In, for a genuine, because we haven't had for a long time a genuine person that you thought was going to take the belt off Toni Storm. You know, pretty much every time, oh, well, she's going to retain again. But actually with this one, I'm not really sure, because I don't think AEW are going to make, I don't know if she'll take it off her, but I don't think they'd make such a big deal with her smacking her with a Owen Hart belt, and like if it wasn't going to be more down the middle.
With that, I'd actually say as well is they do get some things right, AEW, when it comes to the booking of things, and I have to say that popped me to see the way that she went from this nobody that, like, no one in the mainstream really knew who this Mariah May was, and then to see her go into this kind of almost worship type of character that worshipped Toni Storm and the ground she walked on, and then the way she literally just brutally destroyed not even just her, but Luther as well. We can't forget that he got absolutely annihilated as well. The way it ended, I actually think she might beat her. I'm actually going to put it out that I think Mariah May will be, because also I think she's British as well, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think they may go with a hometown pop type of thing.
Yeah, they did like that last All In, to be fair. They were all for, because it was
Saraya.
Oh, who was it? Saraya, yeah, that got a massive pop and then ended up winning. So they do quite like making the English crowd quite happy. Maria May, professional wrestler.
Whereas the WWE don't care so much about making the Scottish crowd happy.
No, they certainly didn't. Yeah, so she's best known. She's an English professional wrestler. So yeah, you're right. I didn't know that before now. So yeah, let's hope so, because I think that'll be one of those oh my god moments if we do get that.
That's okay.
All In. So quickly,
my boy just wants to say goodnight quickly.
No, that's all right.
Yep, you look very
cool.
Yeah, you look very cool. You go to bed now, yeah? See you later. Bye. So that was my boy there.
That's all right. So quickly to run through the Raw after Money in the Bank. CM Punk started the show, speaks about vengeance, drew Injury in the Rumble. that fueled what happened at Money in the Bank, asked Adam Pearce to end Drew's suspension so he'd get to him. Seth interrupted and was pissed off because he now can't challenge for the title as long as Damian Priest is champion. Seth echoed what Punk said, actions had consequences, and warned Punk to keep his eyes open as he's ready to put him back on the shelf. Jey Uso scored a victory against Chad Gable, but after the match, Abby the Witch, aka Nikki Cross, came from underneath the ring, as she's been doing the last couple of weeks, and said that she would like to hand another tape to Pat, which she did. Sheamus was interviewed as it marked 15 years of him being in WWE. I thought I needed to shout this out because it shows that he's an amazing servant to the company, having been there for so long and been with them for that period of time as well, and not kind of gone to any rival promotions. Deserves a lot of respect for the things that he's done. Certainly, as I was growing up and going through school and stuff, he was one of the main guys. So yeah, just wanted to make sure I included that. In terms of the videotape, Bo Dallas spoke with Uncle Howdy again, much like he did in the couple of weeks previous, where it's kind of an interview format. Uncle Howdy asked him to tell him more about his family, about your family, sorry. And then Bo Dallas said, I took those in that no one wanted, the discarded, the forgotten. I gave them a purpose. They're so happy that you remembered them, because being the glutton for punishment doesn't make abandonment hurt any less. Forsaken alone, begging for mercy is the buzzard's circle. That has been lost too much, for grief is the price we pay for love. But now we must set the captives free, so they need no master. Do you think do you think we are sick? Uncle Howdy says, yes, I do. There was then like a really creepy part of the video, which I think they've been doing amazing with this storyline.
Fantastic.
It's just some of the best stuff that I've ever seen WWE do by a long chalk. And then Bo Dallas ends the video with, then sick is what it will be. Yeah, it's obviously, I think we spoke about this in the group chat and stuff, and I hadn't seen the this week's part of it until today, which I will go on to pretty soon. But yeah, I do think this was great, but I do think this week's edition of what went on was probably the best they've done. So quickly finishing that war off, Dom and Liv beat Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega. Rhea then returns and cuts off the celebration between Dom and Liv. Liv runs away through the crowd while Dom stands in the center of the ring. Rhea will, of course, get her hands on Liv eventually, but what does a return mean for her on-screen relationship with Dom and what she brings to the faction that has not been as united as it has been under her leadership? So yeah, it's certainly one that's going to be play out over the next couple of weeks. It certainly set up a new story arc that we didn't really need any more story arcs, but obviously when Rhea Ripley's involved or any of them, we're all for it. So fast forward to yesterday. 2 days ago now, Raw of this week. Rhea kicked off Raw with a huge pop as she came out and said a few words, but then was interrupted by Dominic. He pleaded his case for forgiveness. When Liv turned up on the screen, overlooking them, Liv kind of taunted Rhea, but all that did was further anger her, who issued a challenge for a match at Money in the Bank. It was Liv Morgan accepted, which I thought they were going to let that play out a little bit longer, but they didn't. Rhea vows to end her career. Sheamus then defeated Bronson Reed. Rhea thanked Damian Priest for holding things down for the Judgment Day in her absence. Sonya Deville beat Zelina Vega, and then it cuts off to Sammy saying to Ilya that his match was because he earned it and not because he stood up for against Braun Breaker. Gives him a lot of praise. Damian Priest and Gunther then go face to face. After that, Chad Gable tells Adam Pearce that he will call out Bo Dallas later that evening because he is Uncle Howdy. I thought that was quite funny because everybody was like, well, we already knew that. Like, everybody knew that. But Chad Gable was like convinced that he was the first person to know that. So I did think that was really good. Dominic Priest then pins Big Braun Strowman. Stark and Baszler defeat Chance and Carter. And then it comes to like the good part of this Raw. So Adam Pearce calls Drew to the ring. He asks Drew to apologize to the refs. Drew says, I'm not doing that. So he's still suspended. In comes the bit that was most exciting about this Raw. We kind of learned quite a lot of things. I don't think before today, before this Raw, that people were referring to them as the Wyatt Six. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shane. I think that was the first time they were called.
Yeah, I think that is. I think it was mainly just every single week. It was just the tapes, and then the interview with Bo and Uncle Howdy, and I think the origin of that was definitely the sick is what will be. But I will add to that as well. One thing that I loved is it went to commercial break straight after sick is what will be. And it was Adam Pearce, and he opened the door to his office, and sitting on the couch was Bo Dallas. And I thought that was just, that literally took my excitement level to like literally 11, and it was already quite high as it was, but literally seeing him in the building, because before then it was very meta. You didn't know where Bo was, but there you actually thought, okay, so he is actually part of WWE, even though we knew he was. And seeing him there, and that segment with Bo Dallas and the Creeds and Chad Gable, oh my god, and the laughing as well. It basically, one thing I will say that's probably the best thing I can say about what they're doing here with the Wyatt Six, if there's ever any kind of love letter that you can do to Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, and Brody, rest in peace, this is it. This is it, especially with going into what this week's tape was.
Yeah.
Seeing that, if that doesn't tug in your emotional heartstrings, I don't know what will. I think what they have been doing there is just chef's kiss, literally.
Yeah. So I've been reading into it because I remember one of, I don't know who it was, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this more at length. They said that, reading between the lines, apparently they've given full creative control to Bo Dallas in terms of how this storyline goes and stuff. And you're starting to see that. I think obviously it's not out there whether it is or it isn't. I don't think that we'll ever know really the actual positive, like the actual nailed on answer. But I think the more and more it goes on, the more and more you can see that probably is more than likely the case. So this week we had another tape. It was actually on Pat McAfee's show. So the morning, I think, because obviously you've got to think in American time. I think he had a show that goes on morning television in the States on the morning of Raw. So that morning he was doing as normally. I think they were talking about baseball or something. And then on the screen, like on the broadcast, it just basically came up and said you lied. And then it all crackled like it does. Then there was just a tape that had showed up in the studio. He obviously said the people that we're speaking to about baseball kind of knew the situation as well. So cut back to the announcers on Raw. I believe, like I say, this is the first time that Michael Cole actually referred to them as the Wyatt Six, that we now know that they are. Before then, like I said, don't think, to my knowledge anyway, that they had a name. So it's kind of an interview style again, but it was Eric Rowan sat in the chair this time. Uncle Howdy said, "How have you been?" Obviously, we haven't. Again, this is off the cuff, so I think we haven't seen anything of Eric Rowan really since Bray Wyatt's passing. Around that time, we saw him like a little bit before then, I believe, but like certainly since Bray Wyatt passed away, I don't think we've seen him on anything apart from obviously a documentary.
I don't think for Bray, but I know for Brody he was. I know that he showed up on Brody's tribute show, and he showed up on AEW for a six-man tag match as well. I think with the Lucha Brothers versus the what they called. I mean, the Gothy group on AEW. I can't think what their names are now. Aleister Black's.
House of Black.
Yeah, House of Black. That's it. There was that. And yeah, I don't think I have seen him much.
No, it's like WWE anyway. That's what I was kind of referring to. I can't remember, because obviously all that Brody King stuff was all AEW type stuff, wasn't it? And not.
Yeah, it was. We saw his face last week, because the thing that I loved about showing that interview, when was talking about the family and like giving them purpose, and you forgot about them, you actually, if you pause the videos at certain points, you actually saw the faces. So they have been revealed of who everyone knew that they were anyway, but you saw their faces. You saw Rowan's face. You saw Dexter. You saw Dexter's face. You saw Gacy's face. I can't remember if you saw Cross's face. That's the one I can't remember. I know you saw her, Abby the Witch, standing there. Okay, one sec. One second. Sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, that was the first time I think I remember seeing that. I will go on to, because I know we skipped onto this one, but I do feel I need to rant about a certain thing that happened in last week's Raw.
Go on.
I don't understand WWE's logic with this. So they basically did this whole thing for context of, if anyone's seen Raw or seen the Money in the Bank. So the after effect of CM Punk attacking Drew McIntyre was that it had a ripple effect. It basically took the World Heavyweight Championship chance away from Seth Rollins. He can't challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship while Priest is champion. And you even saw that paid off, sort of, basically the Raw after that pay-per-view, where it was a brilliant promo segment between Punk and Seth, where he literally hammered that home, and you have taken this away from me, and everything has to be about you. And like, literally, it was so brilliantly done. And if anyone has seen it, there was a segment backstage where Priest actually turned around and said, "Oh, that gentleman's agreement, don't worry about that. once this match with Gunther's out of the way, basically you get your title match. And yeah, I know everyone knows that it's likely to be Gunther that's going to win. But the fact is if it isn't, you've just undone all of that. You've undone every single thing that you set up at Money in the Bank, which makes that cash-in failure even more pointless, if that makes any sense to you. It's just, I didn't understand that logic whatsoever, and I'll call WWE on their good things, but I'll call them out on their bad things. And this to me was so bad. You don't set something up like that there's repercussions and consequences for your actions, and then take the consequences completely out of the picture. It made no sense to me. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel they've got. I feel at the minute WWE have got so much going on that some of the things that they're doing, they don't actually know where to go with it. I think they're at a time where they've probably had more going on than they probably ever have for a very long time. So actually, I think they're struggling to keep up with everything. I hope that this doesn't extend to kind of the story of Rhea Ripley and the story of the Wyatt Six. I hope it stays at like what it is now, and doesn't go any further than what it is at the moment. But yeah, I think they're kind of struggling with so much going on at once that they don't really know where to take things, potentially. I guess that's what I kind of think about it all. But yeah, again, yeah, like I said, we always do that. We always try to, well, I know certainly I do. I'll praise anybody for doing good things, but I think I've always been one to call out even AEW and anyone really that does something that's not so great. So yeah, just quickly before we finish off, before we go into like the Wyatt Six type stuff, Sammy retained against Ilya Dragunov in the main event. He won it by DQ. Braun come out, sprints around the ring as he does, goes to hit Sammy. Sammy kind of jumps out the way and takes out Ilya. In the other bit that wasn't the tape, Jey Uso pinned Dominic Mysterio. Earlier on in the show, Jey had basically said to Dominic Priest and Dom Mysterio that if Mami was available, tell her to kind of call me. So he set up this match, but ended up losing. Somehow, as it's been the last couple of weeks, Liv ended up on top of him somehow. Liv came out and Rhea came out and Liv kind of ran off. But then we also had the Chad Gable calling out Bo Dallas. They kind of ambushed him as he came into the ring. But Bo is then just seen laughing, like you've just said. Lights kind of all go out and the beam of light comes, and then out comes everyone from the Wyatt. Six, maybe. I think it's six. They all come out and kind of stand in the center of the ring, with kind of Bo Dallas stood there as well. Came out with like the torches, like they would. So it's all kind of very nostalgic. But then quickly going on to like the tape. So Eric Rowan was sat in the chair. Uncle Howdy said, "How have you been?" Eric Rowan says, "Not going to lie, the last few years have been very hard. I used to have a family. We were unstoppable, inseparable, always had each other's back. And then one day, the whole world changed. I lost a brother, the person in this world who I believed in more than anyone else, just gone. It knocked me on the ass, and I'm not going to lie. But in those situations, you get up, wipe the dust off you, and keep moving, because that's what you got to do. Life goes on." Eric Rowan then also said, "Just when I thought I had everything going, my older brother was gone too. Then I had no family, no more will. I fell down a well and I couldn't get out. I didn't want to get out. Why would I want to get out? I felt catatonic. I couldn't move, numb to everything. numb to the world, and who is going to miss me? I am just Rowan. So I thought this was like real. I don't know. I guess it had meaning for all of us. I've done it again, Dominic Priest. I've done it again. So I guess it kind of had meaning in terms of the storyline, but then it had, I think, a wider meaning in terms of, I don't know, the process people go through during grief, the process that people have when they're lower in mood. So I think it did have a bigger picture than just being a wrestling storyline. It went into the real life. It went into the. So I think that was why I quite liked it, because past wrestling fans, it still would have had a meaning to them if you'd have told them a little bit of context. So that's why I really liked it anyway. So he. Uncle Howdy then responds kind of, how did that make you feel? Eric Rowan's then passed his old mask, I believe. It was exactly his old mask. When I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, that's his old mask, I'm sure. So this old mask gives him hope. When I was at my lowest and you reached out to me, you pulled me up. When I saw your hand, I accepted it because I know I needed it. I knew I needed help. I got up and now I have a purpose in my life, a purpose to help those like myself. This, referring to the mask, reminds me of the beacon of hope, and we're going to take our broken hearts and make some beautiful art. So I thought that was really good. I think that was the best bit they've done so far, just because of how relevant it was, not only to the storyline and what's kind of happened over the last few years, but it came back to have that kind of real life meaning as well. And I think certainly a lot of people that watched it would have been able to relate to a lot of it. I know as I was listening to it, I related to a lot of it, and it kind of resonated a lot with me as well. So I thought that was fantastic, and I just long hope it continues, because it's making me want to tune into Raw every week. Most of the time before this all happened, I would watch Raw, but I wouldn't be massively excited. I'm now massively excited just to find out the next part of this story. I hope they now go, like Barry said, I think a few weeks ago, I hope they go through each member and give them all each like their own videotape, and give them each their own interview, almost like they're, obviously none of them are new, but it's almost like they are, so we can kind of get to know that character, how they're going to be in this kind of Wyatt 6 again. I'm guessing that's what we're seeing play out. I hope they can stretch it out for as long as possible and keep it as good as it is for as long as possible. So that has been a long one, to say the least. I knew it was going to be a long one. I knew I had loads to cover. I've gone through it as quick as I possibly can, allowing others to speak. So I'll be pleased to give my voice a bit of a rest. But thank you, Shane, for coming on. It would have been a hell of a lot harder on my own, and I'm lucky people that have come in. Is there anything you would like to shout out at all?
Basically, if anyone hasn't already, make sure to like and subscribe. It always helps the content creators out. Thank you for sticking with us. I know that there has been a lot of content we have gone over in, I think it says about over 2 hours it might have been that this video might have been. So thank you for sticking with us, and if you want any football related channels as well, make sure to check out Gooner Gathering. That is always a good one. Our friend Lee, who was on earlier, that's his channel. I always shout out Lee. He's a brilliant friend of mine, and I think that if you all help each other, then it helps everyone in this industry. And long may the good wrestling continue. If I will say anything in terms of how things have been going with the Wyatts, I think the next one that should be Gacy, because I've always found his promo style to be very unique, especially when he went through the cult stage himself. So that will be interesting. That will be really interesting. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Dexter supposed to be a mute type of character? So that's going to be an interesting type of segment as well, because he doesn't talk very often.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think all of these things are going to play out. I think they're all going to become apparent over the next couple of weeks or so. Like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how they take each of the characters and how they, because obviously they're gonna come kind of keep somewhat the same, but other stuff they'll have to kind of mold to this new kind of faction. So so it'll be interesting to see all of that. Is there any of your own social medias you want to shout out before we?
So I am at Night Owl Scribe on Instagram and on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Sorry, Elon, you're not getting any X it mentions here. So yeah, I'm on Facebook as well with my name Shane Armand. So check me out on any of those. I don't yet have a YouTube, although there have been quite a few people that have told me to do so. So yeah, those are my socials.
Yeah, why not? I think it's I think with everyone doing it at the same time, there's not a more perfect time to do anything like that, because I think we've got a circle that kind of does do everything that they possibly can to help each other out. So
yeah.
So yeah, so I certainly think that's something to consider for sure. But yeah, obviously you've watched us, you've got this far, so thank you for tuning in. Kyle has a bumper video in the works, which will be up as soon as possible, but it's taken a lot of time and effort, so it's going to be one of those really good ones. Really looking forward to seeing it. Obviously we have the merch, we have the Patreon. Go and check all those things out. All in coming up. I'm hoping that I can get control of some of the social media so we can post some types of stuff while we're there. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Not sure when.
And if any of you are going to be at All In, make sure to come and check us out. I'll be there, as will Sam, I believe. I believe you'll be there as well, won't you?
Me and Kyle will be there. Yeah, we'll. I'm gonna put some posts and stuff a little bit closer to see if anybody like that's on this channel from the UK wants to come and have a drink or whatever with us. And so yeah, we'll see. We'll certainly be doing stuff around that. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you on the next one.
See you later.